We are about the love of pro wrestling. We are the pre-match entrance and the post-match interview. We are the passion. We are the fun. We are Pete Dunne. We are the tricks, the risks, the crunching drop kicks. We are the wrestling show display. We are Mariah May. We are the spine buster, flailing punch, and brutal knee. We are watching for the count of 3. We are the art in the ring. We are the bright lights. We are the squared circle and the life of the fight. To re-watch our favorite wrestlers' moments. To live and breathe through the eyes of their opponents. We build the vision for you to explore here at Powered 4.
What's up, everybody? We're here for Powered for SP3 on this Wednesday, and it's a sunny day here in the UK, so I'm happy. I'm all smiles. Sun makes me happy. SP3. We spoke off there. It's good in your neck of the woods as well in New York. How are you this week, my friend? After a crazy busy week for yourself.
Yes, it was an insanely busy week for SP3. I was here on Wednesday. I was on Wrestling Daily on Wednesday. A lot of content over on Sportskeeda Wrestling. We talked about a bunch of the news stories, reviewed Dynamite. Then I was on my good friend Heel Stevens' YouTube channel. A lot of great content for True Hill Heat 127, one of our best podcasts of the year. And now we're back on another Wednesday. And I am back with you, good brother. So let's talk about some wrestling. We've had a busy week of wrestling, of shows, pay-per-views, and news. So let's get into it.
Let's start at the top, guys. I want to thank everybody who's done the tradition. It's become tradition here on Powered 4SP3, is that people, they get those questions in, they get those comments in, and it's become a new thing. But I'm all for it.
Yes.
I'm going to get to those very shortly. Don't forget, if you feel free to send in a comment, send in a question. Don't forget to like and share as well. But let's start the top SP3 with the fallout, the recap here of Double or Nothing. Man, it seems ages ago, which I don't know what that says about my life, but I mean, it just seems like a while ago now. But we're only, a couple of days removed. What was your take of this, and how was it received overall? I've only heard positive about it. A couple of negatives here and there, but overall very positive.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the best shows, best pay-per-views of the year, from top to bottom. I think a lot of the matches delivered. You had one or two duds, and I'm looking at you, Cody Rhodes, as far as that is concerned. But overall, I thought it was a really strong show. I thought it had one of the best buy-in pre-show matches in AEW history, and overall of what I've seen any promotion, whether it be WWE, NXT, Impact Wrestling. I don't think you can find a better pre-show matchup than what we saw with Serena Deeb and Riho. It had a hot opener with Hangman Page getting such a great response, showing how over he still is with the fans. Him and Brian Cage went out there and had a great opening matchup to Double or Nothing. The Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. I still have goosebumps and chills from that Wild Thing entrance. That Wild Thing entrance was everything I would have imagined, and I put it up there as one of the best entrances, best theme songs of anyone in professional wrestling right now because of the fans cheering it. It felt like Major League. It was exactly what probably Tony Khan spent his money for. And they had a great performance, great babyface performance against the Young Bucks, who were at the top of their game as heels. And I thought that was one of the best matches of the entire night. Britt Baker being crowned, her coronation as AEW Women's World Champion in a very good matchup against Shida. I love the response to Shida, really the fans, showing their love and their admiration for her and the great run that she had without fans during the pandemic, a whole year as AEW Women's World Champion. I thought the Casino Battle Royal was a lot of fun, especially the ending with Christian and Jungle Boy. I predicted Christian to get the win, but Jungle Boy winning was the right decision because he was absolutely loved by the fans, and it really showed in a nutshell the one thing that I would say AEW definitely excels at better than any other promotion, and that's building to the future. And their stars on the rise in their mid to early 20s is ridiculous. From Jungle Boy to MJF to Darby Allin, they just have created a whole bunch of new stars that are going to be here for the next decade. Speaking of Darby Allin, Sting. Did you see Sting? Sting put Goldberg, Triple H, and The Undertaker to shame as a 62-year-old man looking like he drank the fountain of youth, looking like he was 30 years younger, doing dives off the the poker pieces. Then just a great performance. The Stinger Splash, he had height on it. I think Scorpio Sky did a great job of selling Sting and, selling for him, bumping around for the Stinger. He did great at that. Ethan Page going full-on Bam Bam Bigelow on Darby Allin, and Darby Allin bumping like crazy like he always does. That was just a tag team match that exceeded any and all expectations going into it. I thought the three-way with Omega, Orange Cassidy, and Pac was one of the best three-ways of all time. I would say that it's a top 10 triple threat of all time, because the one thing that I said I did for many pre-shows, whether it was Sportskeeda, my boy Hill Steven, or on True Hill Heat 127, we all said the outcome to that matchup was never in doubt about Kenny Omega winning. But on multiple occasions in that match, they made me bite on near falls, especially for Orange Cassidy and the Orange Punch. Pac was on the top of his game and reminded us that he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And Kenny Omega is approaching that heel status, that upper echelon of heels, whether it's Triple H in 2000, Ric Flair in 1989, he's approaching it because he was just on the money and just getting the right reaction from the fans, similar to the Young Bucks in their match. They are on point with their heel characters right now, and I thought Omega was tremendous. Don Callis added a lot to that match as well. That was just a great three-way in every shape and form. The Stadium Stampede, I had my issues with, and I would say Stadium Stampede 1 is definitely better than Stadium Stampede 2, but overall it was fun, and it had the right finish with making another one of the future stars, the guys that's going to be around for AEW for the next decade. Sammy Guevara looked like an absolute star in the end. Him getting the win made a whole bunch of sense. It was a redemption for his entire character, from him finally being behind the wheel of the golf cart and not being chased by the golf cart, and then him getting the win for the Inner Circle after he lost in Stadium Stampede last year. He was the one that surrendered in Blood and Guts. He was the one that left the Inner Circle. He was the one that saw that MJF was trying to poison the Inner Circle the whole time. So for him to win Stadium Stampede, it felt like a complete redemption of his character and really established him as a future star for the whole promotion, and then ending the show with Judas being sung by the fans. That was just the perfect little ending to this great show. And most of all, I have to say about Double or Nothing, the MVP of the entire show was that molting hot crowd. That crowd, in every shape and form, they reacted to everything appropriately. Even Cody, they reacted appropriate to, because he got cheered on his entrance, and from a lot of the fans that were there, they said that they were responding to what he was doing. But from my perspective, watching it on TV, it felt like the crowd was significantly less hot for the Cody match than it was for everything else. But overall, top to bottom, this was a 9 out of 10 show for me, and one of the best pay-per-views of the entire year.
Wow, high praises there from SP3 people. High praises. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. I just sat and watched it. I didn't really think about too much. Even the Cody stuff, I didn't really think about the whole shenanigans going into this match, because it was it wasn't the best. Some of the work they were doing. So for the show itself, I thought it rocked. It did everything. It's one of those only times where I think we've come out of an AEW show of recent where nothing ridiculous has happened to tarnish everything else. I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind, please don't let something happen right at the end. And that's all anybody will be talking about. So I think this was a great show. I think definitely one of the best of the year. I mean, it'll be hard to get a more, I'd say, consistent show, I think, at the moment than what we saw. But I think the fans, I don't know whether it's just haven't been in mass like that for such a long time that they were just let's just go with it. Let's just play the part for a change. I don't know how long that'll last. Maybe the novelty will wear off over time, but that was great as well. So yeah, overall, very, very good. SP3 turning our focus now after a fantastic show like that. We'll talk about WWE and Japan's potential. We say potential on this show because I tell you, mate, my emails are blown up when this got announced. My goodness, I've never had so many emails from people telling me it's on, it's done, and I go on and I'm like, hang on a minute, it's not done at all.
No,
and
at all.
I'm not sure what the hell is going on, but you know what it's like, mate. Wrestling and rumors, it just goes hand in hand. So you can't stop that wave momentum when something like this comes out. But SP3, from your perspective, obviously, I've got to say, let me ask you first, being a huge New Japan fan like yourself, when you see this potentially, we say that word again, happening, how does that make you feel as a fan? Take everything else out aside, how does that make you feel? Are you kind of like, oh my God, they're going with WWE, the sort of no-no of what New Japan is? Or do you see the kind of reasoning and business side of the whole aspect of it?
One note to take a step back to AEW Double or Nothing, we should also note that it is already being projected to be the second biggest buy rate in the company's history, just behind Revolution earlier this year. It's up 12% from what was the second biggest pay-per-view buy rate, which was last year's Double or Nothing with Stadium Stampede 1. So overall, from the fan praise to the business side, AEW Double or Nothing can be looked at as nothing but a success. Now, talking about this WWE New Japan partnership, I put out there on the True Hill Heat Twitter, my initial reaction to this was, if New Japan did do a deal with WWE, it would complete an 18-month odyssey of bad business and booking decisions by New Japan Pro Wrestling. It seems ever since this pandemic started for New Japan, they haven't been able to put their best foot forward. They had the empty arena shows, which went as well as it could have with New Japan. I feel like they needed to get back in front of fans, and that's why they were the first to be in front of limited capacity crowds. And they started that off with Evil becoming the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, which I would say is the worst IWGP heavyweight champion of my time being a New Japan fan. I'm sorry, Evil. It was just not the best booked title reign, and you didn't put on the best matches. So you had the worst title reign of anyone that has held the IWGP title in my time as a fan. Going from there, Naito can never get, the right foot forward. He felt like he had a lackluster run. They had a great two night event with Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom is right up there with,
I like that.
Especially Wrestle Kingdom Night 2 is right up there with Double or Nothing for the best pay-per-view, the best major show of the year, in my opinion, especially with, 4 or 5 star classics in Cobb versus Shingo, Naito versus Ibushi, Okada versus Ospreay, and Ibushi versus Switchblade. All great matches, all match of the year candidates in those 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. So that definitely, they have to be in that argument as well. But from there, it just seems like they've always taken 2 steps forwards and 3 steps back. Will Ospreay had a great New Japan Cup, but then he wins the cup and he commits domestic violence on Bea Priestley and drops her, and she exits the company in one of the weirdest exits of anyone from New Japan in quite some time. Then Ospreay wins the title, which cuts the legs off of Kota Ibushi and his title run, after his title run was off to a great start at Wrestle Kingdom, and then he decided he wanted to, end the legacy of the IWGP heavyweight and intercontinental titles, make it into one title. And the one title came out very ugly, as we talked about here on Power 4 SP3 before. And then from there, he, Ospreay wins the title. He's off to a great start. He has that 6-star classic with Shingo Takagi. And then we have the whole scandal with him being vacating the IWGP heavyweight title because of his neck injury. Then there's reports that it's because he really wanted to leave, and it's not because of the neck injury. There's reports of, this COVID outbreak really bringing frustration to the foreign talent. Guys like Switchblade and David Finlay testing positive for the virus. Even Japan stars like Okada, El Desperado, and Taishi testing positive for COVID-19 and being out for a number of time. And then all of that leads to this. And one of the bright spots with New Japan over the last 6 months has been their partnership with AEW. When Kenta came on Dynamite at a Beach Break, that was one of the biggest stories and the biggest pops and the biggest reaction from fans of the entire year. And their partnership with Impact has really, you've seen that Impact really values their performers, with Finn Juice becoming the Impact World Tag Team Champions, El Desperado coming in and immediately becoming the #1 contender for the X Division title. Kojima's just come to Impact Wrestling. He's already got a major matchup at their next Impact Plus special against Joe Doring. So you've seen that they value the New Japan stars, and you've seen with AEW, they presented the IWGP US title as a very important title with that big match with Moxley and Nagata. They've let Moxley go to New Japan Strong and have that big match with Kenta. So you've seen that this relationship has been fruitful. You've seen that it's gotten a great response from fans. So WWE getting into talks with New Japan kind of feels like they're cutting the legs off of AEW more than anything. PW Insider has come out and said that the crux of this talks is involving Daniel Bryan. As Daniel Bryan has said on multiple interviews over the last couple of months, he wants to work with other promotions and he would like to do it as part of WWE. So Nick Khan has kind of taken that and started those talks with New Japan to potentially bring Daniel Bryan over to New Japan, but also have top stars from New Japan come on WWE television. But I know there, part of me wants to be like, okay, there's got to be a positive to that. I would love to see matches like Okada versus Roman Reigns, John Cena versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, even former stars from New Japan like Shinsuke Nakamura versus Tetsuya Naito. There's a whole bunch of dream matches that I would love to see from WWE and New Japan working with each other. But then again, my other part of my mind remembers the last 30 years of people working with WWE, and the fact that just a few years ago, you, my brother, you're in the UK, the UK independency was on fire, and then WWE said, you know what, we want to have our own NXT, we want to have our own NXT in the UK, and completely killed pretty much the entire independent scene in the UK to create NXT UK, which hasn't even been presented as a very important brand. It's like the redheaded stepchild of all the brands. I would say that it's that 205 Live at times I felt like a bigger priority to WWE than NXT UK. It's completely killed promotions like Progress and ICW, and Rev Pro doesn't have a bunch of stars that they had in the past. It's just really putting a damper on the whole entire UK scene. And guys like Evolve was great for WWE in getting reps for the Street Profits and Raquel Gonzalez. It helped them discover guys like Austin Theory or women like Shotzi Blackheart. But then that promotion went dead and died during the whole pandemic. And yes, you can blame the pandemic for that, but you can also say that WWE took a lot of the major stars from Evolve, and guys like Darby Allin, who is a mainstay in Evolve, saw the writing on the wall and was like, "No, I'm going over here instead of staying here and potentially becoming, the skater boy and coming out to Avril Lavigne or some crap like that in WWE. I'm going to go to AEW where I could be myself and continue on my path in professional wrestling." It just there's been nothing good. ECW, yeah, it worked for a time. New Japan in the past, it worked for a time working with WWE, but none of those relationships ended well. ECW went out of business because Paul Heyman is bad with money, but also because WWE took all their major stars in the Dudley Boys and Taz, and they didn't even use Taz properly. At least you could say the Dudley Boys went on to become a legendary WWE tag team, but they completely blew it with Taz. And, the New Japan partnership, New Japan said for years that they did not like that partnership, and that's why they preferred the WCW relationship over the WWE one. So I have 30 years of evidence that tell me this would not be good for New Japan. So as a New Japan fan, I lean more to the pessimism than optimism in this regard.
Wow, lot to digest there, I think, SP3, both from an emotional and also reality, I feel, point of view in all that. And, it's fair. I'm glad you brought the whole UK thing up because many years ago when I had my podcast, WrestleLine, I remember when World of Sport had just come out on ITV. And as soon as it got announced, and they did a pilot, and Jim Ross was involved on the announce team, and, they brought Harry Smith in. And obviously ITV, that's like mainstream television. That's like, Saturday night is just, it's huge. I can't, it's a massive audience that's going to get to, people will argue whether it was the best presentation of wrestling. It wasn't to my taste personally. But it felt like, like Gladiators back in the day on the show. It was kind of like that. In a lot of ways, it was a studio audience. It wasn't wrestling fans. You had to apply for it through the channel. You go on there, you cheer, you boo, blah blah blah. But as soon as that happened, SP3, that's when WWE decided we are going to set up camp in the UK before this thing takes off. And that's when NXT UK happened. That's when I was sitting at the Royal Albert Hall for the 2 nights. By the way, never sold out anywhere close, even though they tried to say it was. We had the top, all the top tier was empty, I'm telling you. And they did their best. They brought Sean over. They really tried to do their best. But WWE, in talking about New Japan, I kind of feel like they are doing it to sort of spite AEW a little bit here. This is their track record. I don't think this is a Nick Khan thing. I don't think this is a new thing at all. I think this is WWE tactically, deliberately, in some cases, just throwing their weight at and saying, you know what, we'll do this for the sake of it because it stops AEW's momentum and it kind of wedges something in. So I'm with you on that, SP3. I totally agree with you. Having seen it on my own patch, and yeah, you're kind of right. A lot, there was good and bad with it, let's put it that way, but mainly as we've gone out, we've seen more negative than good.
Yeah, and following with the report from Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was Dave Meltzer that first reported that the talks was going on with Nick Khan leading the talks with WWE with New Japan. He said that they want to be the only American brand work exclusive with New Japan. If it was beneficial to New Japan, wouldn't you think WWE would just want to work with New Japan? It doesn't need to be the number one. It doesn't need to be the exclusive partner. It could just work with New Japan. That would put New Japan in 3 different major American promotions. That would be the most beneficial for New Japan if WWE just wanted to work with them. It's the fact that they want to be the exclusive partner, which shows that they are trying to cut the legs of AEW and cut that partnership off. And that's why I absolutely loved the promo by Tony Khan addressing the WWE and New Japan talks, saying that there can only be one Khan in professional wrestling, and it won't be the Khan man in Connecticut. And I know my good brother Rambo is going to say something bad about Tony Khan in the live chat. And Rambo, I don't hate you just because I call out your fault in the holes in your logic against Tony Khan. If you kept your Tony Khan criticism to his work in Fulham and the football league, I totally would understand where you're coming from. But when you criticize him on the wrestling standpoint, I don't get it, because I see the good that Tony Khan has done in wrestling. I'd much rather him just stick to wrestling and not stick to the football league with everything I'm hearing about what he's doing there. He cares a lot more about wrestling, obviously, from how he's treating both. But I love that promo because it skated the line of Vince McMahon in 1996 and Eric Bischoff in 1997 in talking a little bit of trash to the other side. They tagged WWE in the post on AEW's Twitter. And it was just so tongue-in-cheek, so enjoyable for fans. I loved when WWE, when Triple H at the Hall of Fame called AEW a pissant company. I love it when it comes from both sides. I feel like the people that are too sensitive about it and criticizing Tony Khan for it, you guys would never survive in 1996, 1997, or 1998. You guys would have stopped watching wrestling a long time ago if this triggers you, because you need to take a chill pill and relax and realize wrestling's supposed to be fun. Have some fun with it and enjoy it.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you, SP3. Totally agree. I'm sure we will get loads of comments. I'm sure I know Rambo's already posted in. I've seen it earlier, SP3. You know, there's 2 things you can guarantee on our show. Brett Thomas / Logan Paul and Rambo / Tony Khan. They're 2 things that you can kind of go hand in hand on this show. But it's good. It's all good. You know, I'll go through them. Guys, I've got a extra long preview now of, I got to say, and this is not me talking as the promoter, the owner of Powered4.TV. This is me talking as a fan. I watched the show last Saturday on Powered4.TV, 1PW. And I'll tell you what, it was absolutely fantastic. And I well recommend this to anybody out there. It's probably one of the best cards I've seen put together. And it's weird because it's in the UK and there's so many American stars and Japanese stars on it. But it happened here in sunny Doncaster, of all places. SP3. Have you ever heard of Doncaster? Let me ask you that one first.
Sounds
Absolutely funny. Not. That's how outside the box it was back then. I tell you, it's a territory place, but it was absolutely fantastic. So, guys, as soon as we get back, we will be going through some of your comments and a little bit more. So, straight after this, it's out now from one.
Getting screwed around by this half-pipe promotion. I took time out of my busy schedule to come over here because I'm going to win the 1PW title. Because I'm going to make this Planet Jared just like TNA's Planet Jared. This is my world, and there's nothing you or anybody in this building can do about it.
Pleasure for me to introduce this guy. This is the perfect guy for the perfect situation. This is, I'd like everyone to welcome a wayward son of sorts, the son of the British Bulldog.
Harry Smith! This matchup at his own
You're
pace.
right, this isn't TNA. In TNA, we have crap that works.
See collar and elbow tie-up. Jarrett wants to dominate 1PW, much like he dominates TNA. The Fargo strut.
showing the ref he's not doing anything illegal, throwing in the forearms.
Reversal, hip-hop takeover. Smith used that agility, arm drag, drop kick.
Right on the button.
Eric Smith showing a lot of shades of his father. He's got the size, the power, and the agility.
Right into that. All right, it's one to one.
Irish whip. Lynn puts on the brakes. Back body drop. Great set to balance by Petey Williams. And Lynn baits him in. Petey
The wrestler who could. Chugga, 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 chugga.
Oh, right back. Hits a big right. But Skipper with a spin. Walking the ropes. Breaks up with a drop kick.
Wow.
The amazing agility of prime time.
Two former ECW World Heavyweight Champions.
Storm's grab.
Nice escape.
Up on top. He's gonna get the leverage here. Drop toe. Flying now. Jumping back elbow.
Something got going on here.
Puts the brakes on. Burge lost him somewhere along the line.
Oh my God! This is it!
Chaos Theory.
First blocking it.
Counter the Chaos Theory.
We've seen this before. This might be the loudest match you ever hear.
It is a rockin' electric atmosphere here in Doncaster, England, for 1PW's No Turning Back Night 1. AJ shoots him in. Link falls up and over. Beautiful stand. Oh no. No! Black hole!
Black hole slam in the thumbtacks!
There you go, 1PW, and that's just night one. That is night one. There's another night of this to go. It is well worth going out your way for. Just tons of different people, the likes of Sabu, Abyss, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams. I mean, the list goes on. There's even 2 dark matches that I didn't even put in that package that, again, is well worth going out your way to see. So please go over, check out Powered4SP3. You can see it here on your screen. And there's only one code to use, as ever, and that is SP3. Very simple. Use the code SP3 for 50% off your first month. But SP3, we have breaking news, I believe. Again.
Huge breaking news. I didn't even tell
right,
John.
fireworks.
All I told John is that we have huge breaking news from
Could be anything.
From the Twitter page of Sean Ross Sapp, and I quote,
Okay.
Fightful has learned the following WWE wrestlers have been released: Buddy Murphy, Santana Garrett, Lana, Ruby Riott, Aleister Black, and Braun Strowman.
What? No way. That last one, man. That last one really got me. Hang on a minute. What?
He was the first name, but I was like, you got to save the best for last. I mean,
Lana's quite shocking as well in a way.
Literally, I had to tell John in the private chat here, folks, in huge letters, in all caps, huge breaking news, because this This literally shocked me when I just went up on Twitter as the clip was playing. You know, bunch of great content from 1PW, but this was like, this just blew my mind. I had to message my True Hill Heat guys to post on our page. I had to share this with Louis Dan Gore, because we're going to talk about it on Wrestling Daily today. But huge breaking news once again: Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, Santana Garrett, and Buddy Murphy have been released from WWE, and possibly more to come. Sean Ross Sapp teased this on his Twitter page yesterday. He said that today might be a very busy day for him, and now we understand why. 6 huge names from WWE. Buddy Murphy has not been on television since the whole Mysterio storyline at the beginning of this year and last year. Santana Garrett was just reportedly called up to the main roster, and they were just trying to find out something for her. Lana was just on Monday Night Raw this week, losing to Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke in her tag team with Naomi. Ruby Riott was just on SmackDown last week in a tag team match, losing with Liv Morgan to Tamina and Natalya. Aleister Black just returned to SmackDown 2 weeks ago in the main event of the show, giving the Black Mass to Big E in his return to the company after weeks and weeks of vignettes with the Tales of the Dark Father. And Braun Strowman was in a WWE Championship matchup at the last pay-per-view, WrestleMania Backlash. He defeated Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. This might be like, we've seen a number of releases this year. You know, we saw in April 1 year from the Black Wednesday mass releases last year, Samoa Joe, Mickie James, the Iconics, and others released from WWE. We saw the NXT releases with Jake Wirtz, Alexander Wolf, and Velveteen Dream being released. We heard that 35 different employees in the office for WWE had been released. But yes, Rachel Cornell, everybody in the chat, I'm going to say the names one more time: Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, Santana Garrett, and Buddy Murphy have been released from WWE today. This report is from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. If you know Sean Ross Sapp, he is a part of the Wrestling Journalist Mount Rushmore. If you hear a report from him, it is definitely true. He is the number 1 scoopster in all of professional wrestling, and he got the biggest scoop of them all today. One of the biggest stories, biggest mass releases that I've seen in quite some time. Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, Santana Garrett, and Buddy Murphy have been released from WWE today.
Wow. I can't believe it, mate. I'm in shock. I've just been looking on my Twitter feed at the reactions, and people are losing their mind a bit over this. I'm very surprised. Like when you said Lana, that was my kind of like big peak. I was like, hang on a minute, she's so involved at the minute. Like, what the hell? And then you finished with Braun Strowman, a guy who they've invested in for a hell of a long time. Yeah, they've done what I would consider a poor job towards the end, that we don't take this guy too serious. But come on, it's very unlike WWE to kind of give a guy of his size, like his kind of marketing ability that he would have somewhere else, away. Man, talk about cutbacks at SP3. It's like, it's ruthless. I mean, everybody's up, right? I mean, you're going to be, if you're a performer right now, you've got to be thinking, am I next? Because no one seems safe. Let's put it that way. That's incredible news. Thank you, SP3, for bringing that to us from your sources as ever. We had breaking news last time, but this is crazy, mate. Wow. So let's get into some comments while we digest that. And guys, I'd be interested to know what you guys think about these latest releases as well. Mark Lloyd, first of all, AEW DRN was epic, fun show, a fun watch. One negative was seeing them announced Henry. Just it seems like AEW is bringing in too many that seem to have sad endings in WWE. Hope you're both well. Very well, thank you, Mark.
I just have to address this. I just have to address this comment. Like, Mark, I don't understand how that's a negative because of how WWE ended his time there. That's more an indictment of WWE's booking and creative that he had a sad ending there. I don't think that's too bad on AEW because of how they're bringing them in. WWE brings back guys like Goldberg to get a WWE championship matchup at Royal Rumble, while AEW have brought guys in Big Show to give enhancement to the commentary team on AEW Dark Elevation and help out backstage. They're bringing in Mark Henry, who has a tremendous eye for talent. I think that he's one of the best pickups from WWE that they have ever made because this is the guy that discovered Bianca Belair. He discovered Jade Cargill. And speaking of these releases that we're talking about, he's the man that discovered Braun Strowman. So he has a tremendous eye for talent. And Braun Strowman being released and Mark Henry being in AEW, we might
Only
see
be a
some
matter of time.
Yeah, Lana was the first name that I thought of from this list of who can, transition over.
Minus
What?
that bloody sound effects, please, AEW.
Oh, yeah.
Do not bring him with the sound effects. Get rid of the sound effects.
Please no. But I think that he would be a difference maker for AEW because he's so unique from everybody else. AEW has big men, they have the Lance Archers, the Brian Cages, the Wardlows, but Powerhouse Hobbs is another one, but they don't have guys the size of Braun Strowman. He would stand out among the crowd in AEW.
Yeah, I agree. That's what's crazy about that, letting someone like him go personally. But there you go. I mean, how long did they keep Khali just because of that exact reason? He wasn't half as good as Braun, but they kept him because they didn't want him showing up anywhere else. They just stuck a huge contract. So goes to show you. Mark, I'm kind of with SP3. I think Mark Henry's a decent acquisition. I believe he's doing commentating. From what I read, him and Vince exchanged texts. There was no kind of like too bad stuff after it. I think someone like Mark Henry can offer a company like AEW so much more. I think in WWE, it's only so much you can do. I mean, he's been there forever. So sometimes like a fresh new leaf anyway is better. So I think it works out better for both parties, if I'm being honest. Here he is, Rambo. And get ready for the Tony Khan heat because it's a double one again. Okay, I'm going to get my Tony rant done early. The guy is a complete prat. He's selling you a pay-per-view only to keep coming out at the end of the show to justify to this so-called press why he did things. Followed up by why should he feel the need to tell us about the choice around booking Orange Cassidy for his first year? Let the media debate it. Don't come out internally and tell us. Show was actually good. Well, it always ends on a slight positive there from you, Rambo. So I kind of think he kind of conceded a little bit there, but
he's not Tony Khan's not like just saying these things. These are questions being asked of him. Like, how do you expect him to not answer the question? And they are press, they are media, they have media passes, they get paid to cover professional wrestling. But moving on from that, I do want to read this out. This is from I believe Aleister Black's Twitter page. He has already tweeted. He has already tweeted, and I quote, "I'm gathering my thoughts as this was a complete left field for me. As obviously we just started the Dark Father character, but this was it. Thank you so much, WWE Universe, for allowing me to create and give you small bits of myself." Wow.
He's somebody who could be potentially a huge star. I say potentially, it depends where and what they give him. But I remember when he first showed up on NXT UK that first time. Not many people knew too much about his European. He's a fantastic wrestler. Just if you look at his stuff on NXT, maybe not so much recently because they've made such a shoddy job of it in a lot of respects. But he's a great talent. I mean, again, this is like come and get me time, I believe, for a lot of these promotions out there. I mean, it's both good and bad, but obviously SP3, he wasn't given any real notice, it sounds like, and it just seems like it has really come out the blue on this one. That's quite surprising, really, when you think about it. Good supporter of the show here, Rachel Carnell. Hi to you both. I'm reading a lot that John Cena will return for SummerSlam match with Roman. I like it, but it's a match we've seen before when they try to get Roman over and promos blurred lines. Yeah, I remember that quite well. And John Cena was pretty. He went back to his roots a bit when he was doing those promos because they let him go off key a bit and it made it a bit cool. And Roman at the time, no matter what they were trying to do, wasn't ever going to get where he needed to get. But I still think this is going to. I still think it's a big match I want to see. What about for you, SP3?
Yeah, they've only done it that one time, and the dynamic is completely different now. This is not the same Roman Reigns that was here in 2017. The Tribal Chief, head of the table character, is the best thing going on in WWE, and John Cena has been away for over a year now, so he's got a fresh coat of paint where he can come in and, bring something new to the table. And if he decides he wants to, go on a rant and bring that great Cena promo ability, Roman Reigns can match him. And if Roman Reigns can't match him, Paul Heyman can. So there's a lot of different elements involved here that makes this a very intriguing matchup, and a matchup that I believe can main event SummerSlam and be a draw inside a stadium like they're planning to have on this SummerSlam event this year.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. As long as Roman doesn't pull out suffering succotash or whatever it was before, I'm all for it. A completely different kind of persona now from Roman Reigns. I think he's a lot better, a lot more comfortable now being that character, a lot slower with the deliveries. So it comes across more natural for him, which is good. Elsa Kano now, sup, all SP3. Would you consider getting into pro wrestling? I know Stu is going to do play-by-play soon. Johnny's comms for Triumph. He knows about me, doesn't he? And works for DNA as a producer. Think you may be good as play-by-play, SP3. So there you go. You've got a fan there, SP3. Would you consider going into wrestling? Have you done? I should ask. Have you been in professional wrestling? Have you done anything like the commentating gig before?
No. There's something that I've never done before. It's something that I have expressed interest in. I do with True Hill Heat. We do work with different promotions as far as like sponsoring. So it's something that has come up in the past. I would like to be like more of a backstage interviewer. I feel like I can enhance the performers a little bit more. I'm a short guy. I'm only like 5'6", 5'7", so everybody would look huge next to me. You could see some of my interviews with Austin Theory, Brian Pillman Jr., who are not the biggest guys in professional wrestling, but next to me, they look huge. So I think that I would be an excellent kind of backstage interviewer and enhance the characters in that way. As far as play-by-play, there's a lot that goes into that. I think Stewie is great because he's a great talker, and he's gonna bring that energy to the play-by-play side. It's something that I would need to do like a lot of research and thinking about before I would take on that role. But I feel like if anything in pro wrestling, I think backstage interviewer would be my forte.
Yeah, I tell you what, although he said I'm play-by-play, I'm not really play-by-play. I'm the heel commentator that just chimes in every now and then. So whenever there's dead air, that's my time to go. And it's a lot easier, my end, than it is my partner.
I would prefer that.
Yeah, I did the other side once before. Now, the guy that was supposed to do it got ill. He lost his voice. Like, there was no way he could do it. And they said to me the night before, you're going to have to go on the next day and do the commentating. It was live as well. And I thought, oh, my God. So I wasn't familiar with moves. This was like, this is 2004 at the time. So, you know what I ended up doing? I ended up getting smacked down the game. And you remember the bit where you customize your wrestler with all the moves? I was just reading them all. I was going over and over again. Okay, this means that. And then, of course, there's like another layer to it because people call moves different things. So there's that as well. Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, it's one of the hardest jobs. So my hat's always off to guys. I know Michael Cole gets a lot of stick, but I tell you, my hat's off to him because doing that plus Vince in your ear hole and all the rest of it ain't easy. And that's why I had sympathy for that guy who recently got let go as well. And also, who was the last guy that recently went as well? Got his name now from
Tom Phillips. Tom Phillips.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's crazy really as well.
I think the
Yeah.
guy on Raw this week, Jimmy Smith, he sounded like a natural, so I will give him that.
Yeah.
And I hear he's getting a lot of praise from the Raw production team, as Russell Votes reported this week. They thought he was tremendous and a natural fit, and I agree. He sounded like he's been there for a while, even though it was his first night on the job.
Yeah, that's good. Who we got now? Mark Lloyd again. Anyone know if there is a trailer for Brett's A&E bio next week? I'm eager to see it. Think they saved the best until last. Yeah, is it the last one? My goodness, that's gone quick.
Yes, this is the season finale of the A&E biographies. I felt like the Mick Foley one, even though I knew a lot of this information because I got Have a Nice Day. That was the first ever wrestling biography, the autobiography that I ever purchased. I knew a lot of the story, but I thought it was told so well. And you could check out our review of the A&E biography, Mick Foley review, which has already got a stamp of approval from Mickey Foley himself, the son of Mick Foley, the youngest son of Mick Foley, actually commented on our review, told us that he thought
That's
that it was a nice review. So thank you to Mickey Foley. Thank you to the Foley family. I'm still waiting on Mick to review our review. So hopefully he does. I tagged him on
Come on, Mick. Yeah, there you go. I actually put this in earlier as a screenshot of you guys doing the A&E biography recently because I couldn't get the pitch. So I did have that planned beforehand, SP3. Rachel's saying here that there's a teaser on YouTube, but not like they did HBK one. Yeah, sometimes they leave it, sometimes they don't at the end of the thing, but I didn't realize it was the last one next week and they're ending with Brett. So I'm kind of being a Brett fan like I am, I shall definitely be watching that with Hawkeyes and seeing if there's anything in there we don't already know. I mean, I don't know how much more you can go through with all that, but you never know. And to follow up on that, in fact, this is pretty good. Just found this Honest Beyond Reasonable. One of the best names. Do you think that the Brett doc next week will shed any new light on Montreal? Also, if WWF ran with Tom McGee instead of Warrior, do you think he would have stayed at the top longer? Thanks. Cool. Blimey, that's two different questions. Well, first of all, the Montreal one. I mean, I don't know how much more you could squeeze out of Montreal, quite frankly. I know they'll touch on it. They have to. But, I mean, we've had Sean and Brett sitting opposite one another with Jim Ross. They've done so much now. I kind of get, if I'm honest, I am a Brett fan, but I get a little bit bored of it, like hearing the same stuff over and over again. I want to see Brett tributed, like not just with Montreal. I feel like that's just Bret Hart attached with Montreal every single time. I wish they'd kind of go into something more than that. But SP3, do you think we'll learn anything different about Brett? Do you think there'll be anything in there that we didn't already know?
I think it's a little difficult because Brett has been covered on multiple occasions, whether it was the 2006 by a documentary that WWE did, whether it was Wrestling with Shadows, the great A&E biography from 25 years ago, and there's not much for them. Yeah, after that one, there's not much for them to shed any light on Montreal at all. I think that's going to be a big portion of this documentary because it's such a integral moment in wrestling history. I would love for him to touch on the Tom McGee stuff and more of his upward, journey through WWF. More than Montreal, but do I think they're going to shed any new light on Montreal? I think that's not even possible. There's too much spotlight on Montreal for us to shed any more light.
Yeah, no, they'll go there. Don't worry. They'll definitely. If this is the finale as well, it's kind of an expectancy with it. And from what I remember from Shawn Michaels, they didn't dive into it too much, which makes me believe that they're waiting for this. With regards to Tom McGee being more than Warrior, most likely if they backed the guy at the time, I'm sure McGee's attitude probably would have fit a little bit better. But we kind of that story is what it is with Tom McGee. I mean, he was a great looking guy, great athlete at the time. Probably lacked a little bit of charisma, but that would have probably come with time. Because the reactions I was seeing of these matches were pretty strong, if I'm honest. Now, here we go. Brett Thomas. Hey all, I'm buzzing for this weekend's fight. Of course, Jake Paul will face Woodley 28th of August. 2021 is the year of the Pauls. Would you say up and coming wrestlers look at this and think, let's just start a channel? And he also follows up with NXT wrestlers on bad wages, breaking their backs every night. When if you get the following and a decent personality, you could do a match worth 18 million. If you have the following, WWE then pay you your worth. Well, that's an interesting one. I had this discussion with the MMA guys, and they were actually saying a lot of boxers are probably going to take that route now, because a lot of boxers, I think like Logan Paul's going to make more than 98% of professional boxers right now in one night, which is crazy. But a lot of these boxers are under promoters and all the rest of it, and they must be scratching their heads thinking like, hang on a minute, I'm really losing out with this. I don't know it could work in wrestling, if I'm honest, SP3, because I know there is social media, but like it's without WWE, AEW, New Japan, it's very difficult to get your name out there as big as what Logan Paul can do. I mean, you've got to have real something else other than wrestling, I think, to get a different audience. Because I don't think there's enough wrestling audience to get that. You know what I mean? I think you'd have to really go outside the box. But it's an interesting point that Brett raises. I'm sure he's buzzing for the fight this weekend. SP3, do you think we might see an upset on the fight just before I move on?
No.
We're going to see a chair shot.
I think that this is a false statement. I don't think NXT wrestlers are on bad wages. They're bad compared to the main roster is a better way of wording that, maybe, but they're also not breaking their backs every night, because they wrestle once a week, maybe twice with the takeover tops, and that's about it. So based on that, and WWE kind of working on their characters and their in-ring work in the performance center, I think they get very good wages. Now, if you're talking about independent wrestlers, those guys are on bad wages and they're breaking their backs every night of the week. So that is a better point to say. NXT wrestlers, no, they're getting very good wages in comparison to when they were on the independents. That's why guys like Christian Casanova or the Rascals or a bunch of new talent have come to NXT over the last 6 to 8 months. It's because they're getting a much better wage than what they were doing on the independent on bad wages. Yes, they could make more if they had a decent personality and gathered the following that they could ask for more money from WWE, but at the end of the day, they're getting paid very well for something that they love. So I can't say they're on bad wages.
I agree. And plus, just to add to that point, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, CM Punk, they did have that kind of thing going on without needing WWE for a long time. Hence why they kind of went in with their own names. Like a lot of times WWE, they love to change the name. You got to be their character, their creation. But if you come in with enough followers behind you and all the rest of it, they kind of like, there's a little bit more of a standoff. You can kind of have a little bit more of a negotiation with them and keep the name, because that's kind of important sometimes. Sometimes when you see wrestlers go in, they have a completely different persona, and it's like, oh my god, like I followed this guy through the indies, what have you done to him? How many times has that happened? So I think guys have been doing that already, Brett. I really do. I don't think that's something new. And this is a very personal question here. We know how old SP3 is, but how old are you, John?
This is on you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Always the personal questions, Mark. Yeah, totally agree. Well, I'll give you the clue. I am as old as WrestleMania. There you go. So take it as you will. That is my age, people. I am an 80s child. I'm an 84 child. So there you go. There you have it. But I'm glad Mark asks the difficult questions, as always. Normally he tries to be very divisive in amongst us. Finally, we got Elsie Connor again. Why doesn't WWE make a play for Ring of Honor like they use their material in docs? The belt means something for that matter. Why doesn't Tony Khan? I don't know. Why is Ring of Honor? Because they're Sinclair Network though, aren't they? So that's a bit of that's probably a part of it, because they're owned by a network. So I don't know, how you'd get round that. I know there has been small bits where they've given them like he's talking about material there, but that's only like courtesy of in documentaries. I don't think they've ever really had their content on the network as such, have they?
No, they just use like pictures or a little bit of footage and like the CM Punk or like Kevin Owens like documentaries in the past, or even the AJ Styles content that they've created. So I think that WWE doesn't make a play for Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor doesn't have like the talent pool that it once had. This is not the Ring of Honor of 2006. This is not the Ring of Honor of 2010. This is not even the Ring of Honor of 2018, and that was just a couple of years ago, because a lot of that talent has either gone to New Japan full time or AEW or have moved on to WWE. So Ring of Honor is not the commodity that it once was. It has a great legacy and a great history throughout wrestling, and I would argue that Ring of Honor is probably the most influential promotion in the last decade of professional wrestling.
Consistent, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's not what it once was right now. So I think that's the reason why Tony Khan with AEW or WWE have not made deals with Ring of Honor. And I would think that promotions smaller than them, like an MLW or NWA, would want to do something with Ring of Honor, or Ring of Honor would want to do something with them. But there has to be a reason why that hasn't happened. So I think that's the best thing to kind of look at, is the position of Ring of Honor right now instead of the legacy of them.
I agree. And you know what? I mean, this is just a personal say. I don't want to see everybody interweaved with everybody, because then that just takes the fun out of everything. I don't want that to happen, because independent wrestling is independent wrestling, the word for a reason. So it's like you want to see associations, but not like we're going to take over you and we're going to get the best of the deal. I don't want to keep seeing that. So Ring of Honor have gone for a hell of a long time so far without needing that. So, why change, I guess. And last couple of comments here. Of course, Brett would say this. They need Jake. What's this? Carnage Pain. New Japan would be better to go with WWE, he believes. And Carnage, no, I think he's saying guts here, but I think he means guys hate WWE. I don't hate WWE. I don't hate AEW. I say this every freaking time.
What
come on,
make you think that we hate WWE? We watch WWE and we talk about WWE every freaking week, and we compliment. I do a SmackDown post show where I compliment SmackDown every single week. Every single week on Powered4SP3, we have a section for NXT with the NXT recap, and I gush over how good NXT has been since moving to Tuesday nights. And I've said this on many different shows, Carnage Pain, so maybe you missed it in the few times that I've said it. My wife works for WWE, so how am I supposed to hate a company that puts food in my wife, and my kid's mouth? That's a ridiculous comment. I'm sorry. I love you. I appreciate you watching, but please don't put ridiculous comments like that, because the farthest thing from WWE, any type of criticism from WWE, you have to be a WWE mark, or you should be paid by WWE to feel like we are hating on them by criticizing them. There's a difference from criticizing something that we've grown up on and wanting them to do better, and there's a difference between that and actually hating them. I never say I want WWE to go out of business. I never say WWE is complete trash. I just know WWE, and I go off of history and evidence. If you don't learn from the past, you are begged to repeat it. And that's what I was saying with the whole New Japan and WWE relationship. You feel New Japan and WWE would be good together? Cool, that's your opinion. But I have evidence to support my opinion, while you just put your opinion out there. There's a difference.
Which is untrue as well. And from our perspective, listen, Powered4.tv, we have an agreement with WWE. Like, we show their footage, we have signed it off, so that couldn't be further from the truth there. Listen, I'm never biased to anybody. I've always said that just because we house our promotions will never stop me talking about other UK promotions and other promotions from around the world, because I just really don't like that bias. I've never been like that. But yeah, if anything, I'm more WWE than I am AEW. So I don't know how the hell he's come up with that. But there you go. Because WWE is part of my upbringing. It's part of my growth into adulthood. You know what I mean? It's a lot to me. So there's more sentimental value there for me with WWE. It's probably the reason I'm still a fan today. Can only be the reason, I would imagine. And this is a funny one. Brett Thomas, this is so Khan can afford Logan Paul. He's got a cutback. Of course. I never figured it out, SP3. We've broke the exclusive, and then we fathomed out why he's doing these cutbacks. It's to make sure he's got enough budget for Logan Paul after he demolishes Mayweather this weekend, I'm sure. And Chris just coming on, who we had on last week. How you doing, Chris? I hope you're enjoying the show. So yeah, crazy stuff, SP3. Okay, I'm just going to quickly, before we go, just NXT recap here, SP3. Like, I've only seen half of the show so far, so I can't give you the whole part of it, but your take of NXT from last night, my friend.
I think the big overall big story coming out of it is the return of Adam Cole. I was happy to see him back. I thought that it was very short-sighted to have a 25-minute opener with Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, and Johnny Gargano going in there and putting on a great performance, and then ending it in a no contest in a match that's no disqualification and no count out. Yeah, exactly. It's just ending it on a wet fart in the church. On the other hand, the main event was great. I thought that MSK and Legado del Fantasma have great chemistry together, and they had another great main event to an NXT. I think that's been the most consistent part of NXT, that you're always going to get a good to great main event, and that continued that vibe here in this matchup. Like I said, Adam Cole was great though, laying out the three contenders for that triple threat, and then his promo on Karrion Kross was ether. Oh my god, he talking about how NXT has tried to make Karrion Kross seem special with the music, with the fog machine, with the girl, and the way they make Adam Cole look special is they ring the freaking bell. That was just a great line, and it sets up a great main event for Takeover in Your House, the Fatal Five-Way with Karrion Kross, Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly. I think that's going to be a tremendous matchup, a match of the year candidate for WWE, or maybe even overall. I'm very much enjoying the whole story for the $1 Million Legacy with Cameron Grimes and LA Knight. I think Cameron Grimes is a money babyface on the rise right now, and he's very popular with the NXT universe and very popular for fans overall. So I think there's good stuff there. And I think they set up a pretty good NXT Women's Championship matchup with Ember Moon and Raquel Gonzalez for Takeover in Your House. So Takeover in Your House has already shaped up. It's going to be a good show coming up in 2 weeks. So we will preview that
not long
on Powered4SP3.
Yeah, not long at all. Yeah, it sounds like a really good show. I was a bit like you. I got through that first match. I thought, bloody hell, this is decent stuff. Like, it's unusual. It's long. And then that ending, I was like, oh, for God's sake, like, why do that to me? You know what I mean? Like, a perfectly great match to put on midweek. Like, and when matches happen like that, SP3, you always talk about it more because it's so unexpected to happen. But then when you get that kind of an ending, you think, oh, what's the point? Once we've just done half the time and done the progressive story. That's obviously what it was for. So yeah, a little bit of a dampener on that one. But overall, I'm a bit like you with NXT. I've much getting more into it now as a fan, more invested in watching it and develop over time. So yeah, thank you as always, everybody that has put comments and all your questions to this crazy breaking news that we had in the middle of it. I'm still quite surprised, SP3, with this whole Braun Strowman leaving, and he's out there. Goodness knows, potentially. I mean, he's gonna be hot commodity, like him or whatever. Guy's marketable. The guy has been in WWE at the top for a little while now, so he's there. I mean, he's anybody's pickings. I mean, he could probably. Yeah. I don't think he'll have a hard time getting a job. Let's put it that way. I think there'll be some offers on the table. But yeah, very, very surprised with that one. That is very shocking. A guy of his size as well. SP3, we know you are always crazy busy as ever, and I'm expecting you to give me a whole list of places you're going to be this week as well. Tell us what's coming up for you guys and on True Hill Heat, and of course yourself, SP3, where you're going to be.
I do want to add, we have another note here from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful on today's cuts. He tweeted out just now, the only way I can rationalize the kind of cuts is for an eventual sale. Several of these people signed big contracts before the pandemic when WWE were in talent hoarding, lock them up for years mode. So it's a potential good argument. We could probably talk about it more next week on Powered4SP3, but you can see my face later on today, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. BST over on the Wrestling Daily YouTube channel. I'm not going to be with Alex McCarthy. He's still out with his vaccination jab. He's still recovering from that. So I will be with Louis Dan Gore. We're going to be talking about in depth on these releases for WWE. Once again, if you missed that part of the show, Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy, and Santana Garrett have been released from WWE as announced, as first reported by Fightful Wrestling and Sean Ross Sapp. So we're going to talk about that on Wrestling Daily. We're also going to talk about that on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel on True Hill Heat 128. That's going to drop on Saturday. Myself, Top Guy JJ, and Miss Chrissy Love. You can also see me on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel Friday live, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. BST. Me and Romeo, Chrissy Love, Stat King. It's going to be 2 of us, 3 of us, 4 of us. I don't know. You'll never know. We're going to be talking about the Dark Side of the Ring episode for Grizzly Smith. That's going to drop this week. We're going to go.
Well, that's going to be a fascinating one.
Very fascinating stuff. You can also check out the A&E biography review of myself and Romeo reviewing the Mick Foley episode. That's right now on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, as well as True Hill Heat 127 with Stephanie Chase and Benno, where we talk more in depth about the WWE New Japan partnership. We previewed Double or Nothing, but we talk about everything going on in the wrestling world. So that's a good one to go check out. One of our best podcasts of the year. If you want a full review of Double or Nothing, Chris G, Jimmy Macaram, and Top Guy JJ did a review following the show Double or Nothing. So they did a great job reviewing that show. So you could check that out also on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. I'll be on Sportskeeda Wrestling on Thursday for Inside Cradle, which is their new weekly podcast with myself, Kevin Kellum, and Rick Ucchino. We're going to be talking about the latest wrestling news, probably about these releases. And I'll be back on Sportskeeda Wrestling on Friday following SmackDown with Smack Talk with Rick Ucchino and wrestling legend Dutch Mantel.
Absolutely. What a lineup, SP3. What a lineup in such a short space of time as well. Been great to have you on as always. Guys, a couple of little announcements before we hit off the air. Just recently, we signed Ignite Wrestling Pro will be coming to Powered4.TV. They were the guys that ran Pro Wrestling Clash. They're back now. It's one of the most beautifully looking wrestling products out there, the way they shoot it and film it. Think Christopher Nolan in wrestling. That's what you got here. It's very, very special. So we're really glad to have that on. And a couple of little announcements now for TNT's weekend events going on in June. We've got a couple of matches that have been sent in to us. So first of all, on the family show, the Ignition show, which happens the night after, we got the man Simon Miller versus Sandy Beach. And of course, people that know me well enough know that I clocked Simon Miller once with a ladder. You know, I've never been his biggest fan, but you know, he's involved. But I'll secretly going for Sandy Beach. Let's put it that way. This was a match that was announced a couple of weeks ago. Kid Lycos and Jody Fleisch. That should be absolutely fantastic. The guy that never ages, Jody Fleisch. The fact that I was watching a match of his from like 2005 the other night, and he's still going. He's still as crazy as ever in the ring. Unbelievable. And tag match just been made as well. Big effing Joe, who I know very well, involved in this one. Should be pretty good. And also a female tag team match. We've got the She-Wolves up against Zoe Lucas and Mariah May. That'll be very entertaining. And this just coming out very couple of days ago for those that didn't see. Dan Maloney will be in action at the event as well, going off big time the 26th of June. And furthermore, if you're into your comic books, wow, TNT Comics, it's going to be coming very soon. The first issue will be announced very soon. So that's pretty cool for anybody that's likes the whole comic book aspect. Well, now you've got a mix between that and pro wrestling, but we'll have more news on that in the coming weeks. Also, for those of you that missed that last week, or sorry, the beginning of this week, I had Straight Talk Wrestling on the YouTube show with me. We were talking lots of different subjects. Go and check that out. And tomorrow we're back with Big Fight Weekly, special start time of 6:30 p.m. Chris and Stu, I'm sure they'll be talking about the big fight this weekend as well, despite Stu trying to ban it every which way he can. I know he is. And also I'm going to be back on Friday with my my friend Carl Rogers, talking movies and video games. Not quite wrestling, you know, taking a break from wrestling, just going to shoot the breeze on films and video games. And lastly, and this is basically, I mean, all eggs in one basket here, SP3, very much for our good friend Brett Thomas, really. The preview of Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. Myself and Chris will be hosting this. If you want to get involved with anybody else, feel free to.
I was asked to be on this by Brett Thomas.
You're more than welcome to come on it, SP3. If you think you can add any more to this crazy thing, I've had to start watching Logan Paul bloody podcasts for this because I don't know the guy well enough. And I will say, I'll give a slight heads up that Logan Paul's grown on me a little bit. He's quite down to earth. I didn't expect it. I was kind of thrown at SP3 that he's obviously got a bit of a persona, but his brother, he's like 100% full on. You don't really see the other side. So he's very much just the character. I don't really believe Jake Paul is always like that. I just think he's very good and he knows what he's doing to sell his fights. But yeah, you can check all that out. That's going to be available on Friday, 3 p.m. GMT time. So thank you as always, SP3, for your expertise. As always, it's been absolutely fantastic. Fifth Gen just missed most live show, but I'm going to go back and feel free, mate, and add comments in at the end. I'll read them out. Don't worry, next time, and feel free. And Chris, me and Stu will cover Jake Paul, Tyrone Woodley too tomorrow as well. There you go. So get in there, guys. Yeah, more. I'll tell you the Pauls. This is
guarantee Brett Thomas is going to watch tomorrow.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's going to be in his element this week. But I wonder what will happen when this could seriously go wrong. I wonder what is it going to be, an excuse or some sort of shenanigans in that? That's what I'm waiting for, SP3. In that, but no, thank you as always, SP3. Been an absolute blast to have you on. I know you're very busy, so from myself, John, Scott, and SP3, don't forget to check out True Heel Heat on YouTube, on Powered4SP3. Check out the A&E Mick Foley, one of the nicest wrestlers, has to be said, in my opinion, is Mick 100%. Foley. Until then, have a good week, guys.